All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the FF Face Off, part of the Face Off Sports Network. Yeah, we're giving you, you guys asked for it. We're giving it to you. I've given you kicker streamers over the last few weeks. A lot of them have been productive. You guys asked for who to stream on the playoffs. I'm going to give it to you right now. Now, to be abundantly clear, this is based on matchups in weeks 15 through 17, where predominantly fantasy football matchups do occur. Now, if you still want the week to week, week 13 is in the archives, 14, 15, 16, 17. And if you're that much of a psycho and you do playoffs in week 18 for no damn reason, I'll give that to you too. That'll be coming weekly. But here is what I have contributed to be the best playoff matchups throughout week 15, week 17. Let's get into it. The first player we're going to mention is going to be Mr. Daniel Carlson, rostered in just 11% of leagues, which still is a little bit fascinating to me. Listen, this is playoff matchups coming up. Week 15, he goes up against the Falcons, allowing the third most points. Then it's the Jaguars, 15th. Then it's the Saints, 11th. Now, one of the biggest things that jumps out to me here with these matchups for Carlson, a lot of comments I get here on social media asks about, well, we're getting to that time of year, indoor, outdoor. Do you worry about that? Well, beauty of it for Carlson, every single game, even the last one on the road in New Orleans, is going to be in a dome. So there is no need to worry about weather whatsoever. Two out of the three Raiders opponents coming up in that stretch are in the top 12 in points allowed to the position. That's as of right now, as of this recording, which is just prior to week 13 beginning. The Raiders' three opponents are allowing a combined average of 10.3 points to the position. That is one of two teams that are allowing double-digit points. At least their three components are combined for allowing an average of 10 points per game to the kicking position. Now, the difference between that is the other team is Jacksonville Jaguars, who are kicking little to no field goals on a per-game basis. And then you have Daniel Carlson and the Raiders, who are right up there towards the top, by the way. You know, again, it's interesting to me because Carlson and he came up in our week 13 video, only rostered 11% of leagues, but he's right there. He's gonna be in the top 12. He is 1 point shy from being away inside the top 12 there. The big thing here to monitor, which I get if anybody want to criticize this pick, is the quarterback position. We saw Gardner Minshew go down with a broken collarbone. We are assuming that Aiden O'Connell will be able to play. He did return to practice. I get it. If it's Desmond Ridder, things get awfully dicey. And that's one big thing to keep in perspective here is that things may change over the course of time between now and the fantasy football playoffs, which is by you can feel free to comment. You can feel free to like this video. But if you guys comment anything, I will get back to you. We can hash this out throughout the next few weeks and give you the best possible player. But let's get into another one that I like, shall we? Let's go into a repeat offender on this show. Mr. Blake Grupe of the New Orleans Saints, currently rostered just 21% of leagues. Here's the biggest thing, though. And there's going to be another kicker here who is going to jump out for this particular reason. It is all about that week 17 matchup. Now, week 15, he goes up against the Commanders. Week 16, he goes up against the Packers. Both of those teams are outside the top 25 in most points allowed. So they're towards the bottom end of the league. But that last matchup is awfully juicy when Grupe and the New Orleans Saints go up against the Las Vegas Raiders, who I did just mention earlier, in terms of Daniel Carlson. Even if you're in a position, and I get this a lot. A lot of people say to me, well, I can roster two kickers potentially. If you can roster two kickers, and if you can get yourself ahead of the curve before people realize, holy crap, Grupe is going up against the Raiders, and I'll get why that's a big deal in just a second. If you can roster two kickers, definitely do it, and then save him for that week 17. And that is this. As it stands now, the Raiders have allowed 10 plus points to the kickers in 9 of their 11 games. 9 of their 11 games. By the way, I don't need to tell you, it's a league high. So Grupe has a phenomenal opportunity to produce to win you a fantasy football championship in week 17. I love it more than anything. Again, if you want to roster somebody else in weeks 15 and week 16, and then roll the dice on Grupe in week 17, if you're able to get that far, God bless you. Then yeah, absolutely do it again. Right now, you could make that to happen because he's only rostered in 21% of leagues. So those are my first two picks. The next pick I'm going to go with is Mr. Jake Moody of the San Francisco 49ers, currently rostered in 62% of leagues. I get it. It's been ugly for the Niners. It most certainly has, but Moody will continue to be out there, barring an injury. He's going up against the Rams in week 15, allowing the ninth most points. Then it's the Dolphins. He's at the Dolphins, by the way, who are allowing the fifth most points. So two of those matchups right there, top 10 in points allowed. So to blend it back into the Grupe conversation, if you can have Moody pick up Grupe and then play Grupe week 17, 49ers go up against the Lions in week 17, who are allowing the 20th most points to kickers. Maybe you want to play Grupe instead, but be that as it may, you have some maneuverability there. If I can get my words out correctly, that'd be fantastic. The other thing here is we talked about this when we talked about Carlson and the beauty of being indoors. Well, the beauty of it here from Moody is that Moody is going to be playing in California for two of those games, and the other game he's going to be playing in Miami. And Miami's going to be pretty good all year round. And even if, by the way, we shouldn't worry about that a ton because Jake Moody did play high school and college football in Michigan. So I wouldn't really lose a lot of sleep over that. Um, you know, I'll say this too, by the way. I talked about the Lions being 20th in points allowed. That coming up in week 17 for the 49ers and Mr. Jake Moody. It is important to note, though, that while they are 20th in points allowed over the last 3 weeks, the Lions are now 12th in points allowed. So there is a shift there. So don't always be married to those numbers that you see on the season. Look at what's happened in the last few weeks. Look at the field goals allowed on a per game basis over the last few weeks, because that's very telling when you look at these kickers and certain trends that you can buy into. So I like Jake Moody here. Again, I don't know what's going to happen with the 49ers here. They're likely going to miss the playoffs, more than likely. But Moody will still be out there. He'll still be kicking field goals. I don't think this team goes out in a complete whimper, despite what we saw in Green Bay. So again, Moody is another one of my kickers. The last kicker I'm going to go with on this column is, oddly enough, a kicker that I was asked a lot about. He wound up in my week 13 kicker video, which again, you can check out in the archives. Mr. Tyler Bass of the Buffalo Bills, rostered in 43% of leagues. So, much like Grupe, that week of the finals is tantalizing, going up against the New York Jets. In the weeks before that, he's going week 15. He's going to be at the Lions, which again, I already referenced what they've done over the last 2 weeks. They've kind of shifted what their yearly rank is. Week 16 is going to be going up against the New England Patriots. That's going to be a home game. And then it's the Jets. Again, that one is going to be at home, though. Jets allowing the 7th most points of position. The Patriots, who I just mentioned, allowing the 17th most. I think this is a nice matchup here overall for Tyler Bass. And, I spoke about it in the week 13 video. Bass had a lot of trouble early on in the season. And since then, he has come on strong. He has, what do I have here? He right now he's 9th in scoring, and he has scored 10 or more points in 3 out of his last 5 games. This is a complete contrast to how we started the season, to the point where we even heard reports that the Buffalo Bills are working out kickers. All of a sudden, Tyler Bass hits a game-winning field goal, and he's been pretty flawless for the most part. And now everything's hunky-dory there at the kicking position in Buffalo. So there, I don't think we have to worry about anybody else coming in stealing the job from him. With Bass playing as long as he has in Buffalo too, by the way, I wouldn't really worry about any kind of weather. Again, I mentioned week 16, he's going to be playing against the Patriots outdoors. Week 17, he's going to be playing against the Jets outdoors. Week 15, he is indoors against the Detroit Lions. I don't really lose sleep over that. When I get to a point where a guy who is known for kicking outdoors in Buffalo, that's where he's been there for predominantly his whole career for the most part, if not the whole damn thing. So I like Tyler Bass a lot. I'm not flinching about the weather. I get it. There's certain situations where you do want to flinch about it, but I did give you some options at the top. Again, these are my kickers to stream of the playoffs. Daniel Carlson playing all of his games all of his games indoors. I apologize. Raiders are kicking more and more on a per game basis. I believe right now, right around it's like 2.5 kicks on a per game basis in terms of attempting field goals. So Daniel Carlson, Blake Grupe, who again I love that last matchup. Jake Moody, who I am most confident, I think, over the long stretch, the whole expanded schedule. Carlson and Moody are my favorites of this bunch. So it's Carlson, Grupe, Jake Moody, Tyler Bass. Those are my kickers. Again, guys, feel free to like this video. Feel free to ask any questions you want. We'll see how this video progresses throughout the playoffs as we get towards the playoffs. And also, kicker streamers will continue to come on a weekly basis. So until next time, stay thirsty, be kind to one another. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Cheers.